I think this one will be a lot more organic.
Yeah,
in that
for sure.
way.
For sure.
Right?
Ready?
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to 10 Talks. I'm your host, Kyle Garza.
I'm your co-host, Don Trimble.
And I'm your co-host, Nick Busta.
Today, we're going to be talking to you guys a little bit about the subject of teacher pet peeves. Those things that, whether you realize it or not, are driving us crazy in the classroom.
This is going to be good. All right. I'll start. So I like to consider myself very easygoing. My classroom is, I model my classroom after a European coffee house from the 16 and 1700s. And so
That's
it's meant to
nerdy.
be, yeah, well, there you go.
But
There you go.
chill.
Yeah, I'll take it. And so I can get into that like for a different episode. But so you can kind of see it's more like of an inviting atmosphere, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I like to think it matches my personality. But there are some things that kind of, I wouldn't say set me off, but it's just like when it happens. And for me, I'm trying to think like if someone were to like be like pet peeve go, it would have to be when I get work where two things happen. Number one is you see the name scribbled and that's it. And it's not even like in a spot that makes sense. Like typically it's like in the top left or top right of the piece of paper.
Sure.
But it'll be like on the side, like sideways. And you're like, what? Why?
In what world?
Yeah, like please explain this to me.
Who taught you this?
Yeah, and so it'd be like, can you imagine handing in a resume and then like the name's like in the middle, like just
It's one of the blanks in the multiple
Right,
choice.
exactly.
A, B, C, Jim.
so like that and just like the formatting, you're like, what did and you could tell, like I tell my students like, okay, so was it 45 seconds before class that you did this or was it like 53? And they're like, how did you know? You know, and I'm like,
How can you
So
tell?
crazy. Well, it just screams
Wow.
like, I'm not proud of this. Do I have to put my name on this? Like,
right, exactly. And so there's that, and also so that would be the one thing. But then two, wrinkled paper. To me, it's like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a sign of showmanship,
Yep.
of respect. Like, okay, I took my time on this.
Yeah.
This is high quality. Like, I really tried. So here, but then when I get it, if it's like it has
It's been in a
wrinkle,
binder,
yeah, like
and it's
yeah,
been-
one to two things, no big
yeah.
deal. But when it's like
They're
it-
pulling it out of their backpack and not any kind of storage thing in the
Exactly.
backpack.
and you're like here,
This is a wad.
right,
Yeah.
or like it looks like it was tissue at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where it's
that's a
like,
good
what is
description.
on this?
Yeah.
I mean, tell me if this happened to you guys, but like I've had a piece of paper where you almost need to like take tweezers to it, and you're like, there's a stain on here. And
You sneezed on this and
Right,
you gave it to me.
Exactly. I don't know
You're
what
trying to
this
get me
is.
sick, aren't you?
Yeah. And they look at it like, Mr. Bruce, I'm so sorry, but I don't know what that is either. And now I'm just
Oh,
scared.
no.
Now I'm just really
Oh,
scared
no.
to touch
Bloodborne
it.
pathogen.
Yeah. So,
See, as an art teacher, man, I've got drawings. I've gotten drawings turned in like that. I'm like, if you don't care about this,
well-
is anyone else ever gonna care?
Thank
oh,
you.
it's such a good drawing.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Or what if it's like, you look at the drawing, you're like, this is actually a really good drawing. This is actually the best part of your entire work. Is like this sketch that you did.
yeah.
While the rest
Well,
of this is
because the difference is that like that's actually the assignment for his class, whereas
It is
with
true,
in ours
that's-
it's a doodle.
right. Exactly. Makes you feel all warm and tingly on the inside.
That's
like,
interesting. I haven't thought about like the aesthetics of the paper that's actually turned in because I don't know if you've ever seen this, but some students turn in paper that is like, this is really soft. This is
Oh
like
my
like
gosh,
paper
yes.
that like if a cat got a hold of this, they would like start doing the paw dance, you know, where they're like rubbing their paws into it, like this is soft paper, and it's like, why do you have such expensive, nice paper that
and
you're
why are you
printing
giving it to
homework
me?
on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah. That is weird and gross too.
That is
Yeah.
pretty weird.
That would probably be like the biggest thing. Like if you put like, I mean, like
Those are
just
such
really pet peeve.
small, particular things.
I mean, maybe if I had to think
Yeah.
about it even more, like might be something that pops up, but just immediately that's just what comes to
You're
mind.
not an angry person. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
when you say that,
Yeah.
I've been trying to hold myself back from just saying like, freshman. Can I just like say that really quick? My biggest pet peeve is what is that? What
Just
are
the life
they?
of a freshman?
I don't know. They're like, are they human?
Their biology in general.
I know. This is the weirdest time in a human being's life.
Okay. So
They're like
it's-
crawling off the walls.
I feel like
okay.
I can't drink this.
So you're saying
while
it's
you're,
their
like doing your thing. So-
you're saying it's their boisterous energy.
Yeah, that was such a nice way of saying it. I don't know. Like, you're not the same human being as you were.
Yeah.
There's
Especially
something
13,
about
14.
that time.
do you
that
think
moment.
about? Do you remember when you were a freshman? Because I do, and I was a weird kid. Like I was weird. Like I don't know if I would be a friend with myself if I like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Well, and the
I
weird thing
agree.
about me is I think people just associate. They're like, oh, Trimble's
It's a beaver disaster, though.
Yeah, really, because I can't calm them down. I'm not calm myself.
What do you say? Like be more like me, and they're like,
Yeah, what?
I am.
Yeah,
right.
I threw something.
This is happening. What do you got? You got one. You're
I have two in particular. They're much less of like the minor nitty gritty things that come into like
Okay.
work or stuff like that. They're more so to do with like interactions that I have with students or
Okay.
things that I hear students say about teachers.
yeah.
So one general line, and I tell my students this on the first day of class too, that I just don't like it when students say it, is the line, "Is this graded?"
oh,
at any point. Because oftentimes, I think what that question is actually asking is, should I care about this?
There you
go.
Or
Definitely.
should I even try on this?
Yeah.
Because often what happens is you get, is this graded? And if you say no, then it's like, well, I don't really have to think too hard on this. I don't have to try too hard. And I think that's where it creates this disconnect between educators and the educated, where like our goal is you should always give it your best effort. Like you should take every opportunity you possibly can to grow. This is my idealist speaking.
This is so not true.
This is not the student I was in middle school or
Grades-
high school.
Grades motivate.
Yeah, I was a minimalist too, even in high school. Like,
Yeah.
thankfully, that was fixed in me eventually by teachers that held me accountable to high standards.
Yeah.
But yeah, is this graded? I try to tell them basically, yes, everything is always graded. Not everything goes in the grade book.
Yeah.
yeah. There you go.
And I think the idea behind that that's helpful for them to understand is that every interaction you have as a student with a teacher
Yeah.
gives your teacher an assessment of the person who you are.
Yeah.
And far more important than the subject matter than we teach
That's
is the
beautiful.
person you are becoming.
Right.
So I tell them, like, the way you walk into class and say hi to me or don't is graded. Your hair for the day and how you present yourself in front of others is graded.
The way you
mean-
write your name on your paper.
It really
Come
is. Well,
on.
but
Yeah.
here's the funny thing about that is it seems so minor,
Right.
but every single,
Yeah.
let's say every single lazy thing you do communicates to a teacher who sometimes we forget, I think, is a person, something about yourself as a person. And that's why formatting matters.
Definitely.
That's why writing your name properly matters. 'Cause it shows that
Right.
like I'm methodical, I take time, I work hard on what I do.
Right.
Because often what happens then, I think, later on in the semester is your teachers have interactions with you that are based on all the past experiences combined.
Wow.
So that if you're, doing anything that gives them an impression of you as, I don't try hard, I don't care unless there's points attached to it, that communicates that we don't see education the same way.
It sounds like you're like judgmental to the microbiological level.
Microbiological.
I am like judging you at every single.
But aren't
millisecond.
we? I mean,
know.
if you really think about it, every single interaction you have with people,
I
you're
love it.
assessing them. Like you're getting an
Totally.
impression of who
True.
they are as a person.
I say this all the time to students. This notion of like, don't judge me, and this is like this is a new cultural thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like I guess probably not very very new, but it's definitely a saying, right? Like, don't
Yeah.
judge me, but yet
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, especially in a
all
classroom
the time.
environment,
Yeah.
It's all we do.
you only have me for 40 some odd minutes a day.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like my impressions of you are built in these tiny increments in a very specific structure so that there's so much lost in what real human interaction is, which
Yeah.
is like out in the world in
Right.
the daily, basically
Yeah.
interacting and communicating and this kind of thing.
Mhm.
That's actually only my first one. You hear my second one?
Bring it on.
Oh, let's go. Yeah.
Because maybe you can
Let's do
level
this.
with me on this too. I think every teacher at one point or another gets the accusation, you grade hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Here's where I think this comes from. I didn't do well, therefore the problem lies with you.
Definitely.
At least often. I mean, granted, I'm sure there are some teachers out
Well,
there
yeah,
where
of
it's,
course.
they're particularly persnickety about things that others are not, let's say.
Yes.
But the other day, I had a student literally watching me grade something that was multiple choice, right? Where like there is an A, B, C, D answer to these questions.
Yeah,
And
not subjective.
and that student was watching me mark things that were wrong and going, I see you're still a hard grader. What? Like how we clearly don't have the same understanding of what that means. It's as if they're saying a right proper teacher would acknowledge that I do things wrong, but count it as right.
Okay.
Or acknowledge that, like, yeah, I'm still trying. It's okay if it's wrong.
Well, it might be wrong to you.
I don't get that. It's like where most of the things that we teach are objective. And I think
Yeah.
that probably like the hardest sell on that is probably in writing,
Yeah.
because I think most people are taught, I don't know what school they're learning this, certainly not here, that anything you write is subjectively true because you thought it, basically.
Okay.
It's what was called reader response, basically. It's like the person who reads a poem and says, I think this is about the struggle of environmentalists against the blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
Sure.
this is a sonnet by Shakespeare.
False interpretation.
Environmentalism is not even a thing on his mind. There's that kind of issue. And especially in writing and the kind of writing that we teach, like everything that we teach is objective. Like there are good arguments, there are bad arguments, there is correct and incorrect punctuation, so that I don't ever think of myself as a hard grader. I think of myself as an objective grader. We have high standards, and we all do. And your grade would not be any different if you were with any other teacher, basically.
I've had the same moment, somebody coming in and being like, did you know that they say you're grading harder than others? And this is just, as an art teacher, right? This is just art.
That's
I can't even go into that pet
personally.
peeve, but all I'm thinking in my mind is, oh yeah, like I actually have standards, and rigor is what we would say as a teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Like
Yeah.
I expect a lot from people, and they'll walk out with a really good product. Like I
Sure.
was loving the whole thing. I was just sitting there smiling, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think these go back to, I don't know, more serious even notions. But honestly, when I just think of even pet peeves, like I just even think of the moment like I'm in class, and even before it comes down to, because these are big. These make you question almost everything you're doing. You know, the things you're talking about. But I just hate the notion of like somebody raising their hand, and then shouting the question.
Oh. Man.
Like the redundancy of like,
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm going to yell it now.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm back here. I'm like, did you know that you raise a hand to notify?
Yeah.
This is a tradition
Well, it's
that
the,
has been
it's,
built into like
it's the
schools everywhere.
it's the posture of a request, but really it's I'm going to bark out my demand.
Right.
Man, I want my day to flow. Or like, and we don't have bells at the school we teach at. What is that? Okay, so
So you just have to be on top of it.
someone's late. Oh, pet peeve. That totally is a pet peeve right there.
Right.
But then they come in as they're late, and everybody's sitting there like, you've already gone.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love to start class and be like, boom,
Yeah,
like
we're
we're
in it.
starting, and you communicate, I care about this moment, and I'm starting at the start moment.
Sure.
And then someone runs in, and they're like, I want to go pee. And you're like,
There's a disconnect
welcome to
here.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good to have you.
Yeah.
And
I guess the new topic of conversation is urine.
Yeah.
What?
So I think I found a solution to that. I went to a seminar once
Please
with
tell
a guy
me.
that was basically his whole thing was non-verbal cues to make classroom management easier.
I've been in a seminar.
Yes,
Have you? I don't know if you've ever been in a classroom where I have, but I have these little signs up basically where the students use like sign language
Yeah.
to communicate things so that you can interact with them in ways that are not distracting. So basically they hold like, this hand signal and signal and they wiggle it, and that shows me like you need to use the restroom. And the more you wiggle it, like the more urgent.
Is it the same
apparently
like
the need
baby?
is.
Which one is it? Is this like
Yeah, it's like the like more
baby
and
sign
things like
language?
this.
Yeah, more is right here.
It's essentially that, but it makes life a lot easier because basically instead of the kid, it's like I need to use the restroom, and then everyone's distracted by that. It's just this one student while everyone else is working just raises this hand,
Yeah.
and then I give him like a nod basically or a no, and it's easy and it's non-distracting.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
Also super helpful for navigating just the general. I don't know what a hand means when a hand is being raised. Like, is
Right.
this a question? Is this a bathroom request? Is this an answer?
Yeah.
So you code them. Questions, answers, comments.
I'm really impressed right now, actually.
Wow,
It helps a
This is
ton in like just the daily
sure.
rigmarole of navigating the classroom.
I'm
'Cause
implementing this tomorrow.
I mean, you should, because I don't know if you ever heard this. There was a study that showed like the most demanding jobs in terms of decisions required per minute.
Yeah.
Like number one, I think was like air traffic
controller,
controller. And then number two is just educators,
I
just
believe
in
it.
general. Probably even more so at like a younger age
Yeah.
level, especially when they're much more monsters than anything else, right? They're just like walking egos of desire and do stuff, basically, right?
Sure.
Where they're just, getting their hands in Play-Doh. And then the next thing, they're putting their hands in friends' ears or something weird like that,
This sounds like my classroom. We just had clay out, and that's exactly
Oh,
what's
and
happening.
yeah, you have, okay. So
And then someone's
kindergarten
back
and
there,
high
like,
school.
also eating, and just like these common, like, I think
Bro.
you ate a part of your clay. Like, I think
That's
that wasn't the sandwich.
I
You
think
picked
it's
up the wrong
unhealthy.
thing. What are you doing?
Yeah, not healthy.
Special.
Not
Do you
healthy.
think do you find though ever that it's frustrating? Like you're like, I don't want to have to teach this rule. Like this should be like commonly.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be commonly understood.
Yeah.
Like the necessity of if someone is talking, you are not.
Right.
Like the most, I think every teacher struggles with that. Just
Yeah.
because there's that weird disconnect of like, there's a conversation being had here, or I'm teaching,
Yeah.
and someone is just full on conversation, almost as if they're completely unaware of the fact that
like
you're
it's
doing
lunch
anything.
and they're just out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Can't fix it.
Bottom line, dude, we're all sinners. We all need a little bit of direction,
It's true.
and you just gotta keep the bar high
Keep it up. Keep the rigor high.
There you go.
Keep grading hard.
as best you can. Yeah, whatever hard
On a multiple choice
really
test.
means there. Yeah, no matter how difficult,
Love it.
quote unquote, it is. Well, that's it for today's episode of 10 Talks. Until next time, we'll say once again, we love you guys. We'll see you soon.